For the CSS grid file, I have opened it and I have entered box sizing up at the top. And then I went to the bottom of the internal style sheet and I added the grid classes and the default grid container. The default grid container is set up for desktop, and we will be adding a media query for mobile. But right now this is desktop, and how I can tell is because I've got 3 different content areas within a row, and a mobile layout would not have that. So, kind of a refresher on how you lay out grid. You have to set up classes for each grid area, and each grid area you have to give a name. I usually do like 1-letter names just because then it's easier to lay it out in a template. So for top, in the grid area template, I'm going to use the letter T. For the note class, I'm going to use the letter N. Okay, so the classes go into your HTML, and whatever name or letter you've assigned the grid area, that goes into your template. Okay, so it is the class that is connecting the area of your HTML to the template. So if we look at this desktop and tablet template, you can see that we have a top section that's going to be 100%. M is for menu. We've got that all the way across. Below the menu, it splits into thirds. So we have a left section, a middle section, and a right section. Then below that, we have a notes section, and then we have the bottom section. Now, really important when you do the grid template area that you start each row with a single quote and that you end with a single quote. And then in between are the letters of the grid area that you want displayed in that location. You'll notice there's a semicolon at the very end. Okay, these little syntax things are areas students have had problems with in the past. So now that we have the grid classes and we've got our template set up, we're going to go ahead and put the classes into our HTML. We'll take a look at it and then we'll come back and configure it for mobile. So what we're going to do is we're going to add the class equal grid container to main. So basically the whole entire HTML section between opening and closing main is going to be our grid. Then the nav section. The class is going to be menu. And for our header section, the class is going to be top. The aside section has class equal to note. And we have 3 article sections. So the first article section, the class is going to equal left. The second article section, the class is going to equal mid or middle. And then the last article section, the class is going to equal right. And then we scroll down to the bottom. And for the footer, the class is going to equal bottom. And now we've got all of our areas defined. So let's save this and we will reload and we can take a look. So our header has a class of top, so it spans the entire width. This is our menu. Okay, so the nav had a class of menu. Then this is the left, the middle, and the right. And then if you look down here, this is the aside, which had a class of note. And then we have the footer at the bottom, which has a class of bottom. And I actually really like this type of layout. I think it does a good job, but you can see that we end up with a scroll bar at a certain point. So we do need to set this up for mobile. And that is what this little media query is going to do. So below the existing grid container, we are going to add this media query. And if the width, the maximum width, is 600 or less, it's going to use this revised template. And you'll notice that we still have the header across the top, but we take the aside and put that below it. The left is on a row by itself. The mid is on the row by itself. The right is by itself. We have the menu below our content, and then at the bottom we have the footer. So it's going to be a noticeable difference. So I'm going to pause while I key this in. And now that I have it entered, and actually we do not want 750, we want 600 there. Now that I have it entered, make sure. All right, I'm going to save. And we're going to reload this. And I'm going to press F12 and turn this on. So you can see that was 1024. So that is not going to show us what we want. Oops, and it's not recognizing it here either. So let me turn this off and we'll do the old fashioned. Now it is. Okay, you can see when it goes down to one column like this, it is picking up the layout. So we've got the header, we've got the aside, then we have each item, and then down here we have the menu and the footer. And I actually might bump that up. Let me save this. Now, if you want to leave it at 600, that's absolutely fine. But you can see how much quicker it goes into this mobile mode if we set it to 800. And this is kind of a personal preference thing. Could I do multiple media queries with different layouts? Yes, I could. Okay, so this, I actually love CSS Grid because you can very precisely control the layout at all the different screen sizes. Okay, but for me, if you guys want to leave this at 600, that's fine. If you want to set it to something else, that is okay too. Uh, but at this point, you are done.